would like to welcome on stage Ambassador Suzuki, who's going to say a few words. Welcome.
Well, I suppose many of you are music fans, right? But I'm ashamed to say I don't know much about Daft Punk. I only to say that well, it's a French house duo and very famous. Creates beautiful music. I just want to say a few words about Leiji Matsumoto. Well, he unfortunately passed away in 2023 at the age of 85. Well, he became famous for creating animation series in Japan back in the 70s. The most famous one is Space Battleship Yamato. That was created in 1960. I'm old enough to remember this animation series. Almost all the kids who are glued in front of the TV to watch this sci-fi series. Well, it's a story about this remarkable space battleship. Well, this battleship not only travels to the other star system, but also crashes the enemy at its base and manages to come back to the Earth to save the humanity. So it's a very interesting story there. But it's sort of militaristic war kind of story. But Leiji Matsumoto is also famous for very fantasy tales like Galaxy Express 339. This is a story about a 10-year-old boy ended up in traveling to the other star system to find a mechanical body to become a robot. Together with a very beautiful lady called Myrtle. And this travel takes place on a Galaxy Express on a train. So this train goes through the universe from one star system to the other. So I just want to remember that this animation film was created through the collaboration of many artists. But this person, Japanese person called Leiji Matsumoto, has created many of the characters and the storylines. So, thank you.
Good evening. We have two guests tonight. Julien, who is a representative of the label Because, which is Daft Punk's label, just arrived from Paris, and Cédric, who just arrived from Los Angeles. Cédric, who is the co-author of Interstella and the artistic director of Daft Punk since its origin, pretty much. They will talk about themselves. I'm gonna give you a little bit of context and maybe just let the audience ask most of the questions. So Daft Punk obviously is a French band with an English name who were based in America for the last decade. But this film here is very much a product of two cultures which are the French culture and the Japanese culture. Both countries have a long history of comic books and animation. And there have been like feedback loops of influence from the French to the Japanese and from the Japanese to the French. And for almost 3 generations now, because of those influences, mutual influences, and also French producers making animation, outsourcing animation to Japan. There have been Japanese cartoons on TV for more than 3 decades, since the 70s. And Cédric and the members of Daft Punk grew up on these cartoons, one of them being Albator, the French title, which is directed by the supervisor of Interstella. His name is Leiji Matsumoto. So I'm gonna just leave it at that and just gonna ask, one disclaimer. Daft Punk as a musical band disbanded in 2021. So the question about whether there's a new album, what's next with Daft Punk, there's no answer. It's up to the members of the music group Daft Punk. But Daft Punk as a multimedia entity is now in the hands of Cédric and Julien. So you can ask them about Daft Punk as a visual object, as a multimedia object, but as a two-man music group, it is a question that cannot be answered at the time. So I'm going to ask you the basic question. Just tell us about the genesis of the film Interstella.
Hello everyone. It started with Thomas. I think he had the idea to do like some kind of like concept album. They were already like working on some music, and at the same time we developed like the story. We were thinking first to do like a live action film, but because of the story and stuff, we were like, oh, it would be great to have some animation, and for us the best thing would be like to produce it in Japan. So at this time it was Toshiba EMI, they were having like the band in Japan, so we contacted them. And the first name we wanted to have was Leiji Matsumoto. And the people in Japan, they told us like, no, it's impossible, it's a semi-god here, so nobody will be able to work with him, especially like French people. Because the band, it was not really well known at this time. They just started to have like the elements and stuff, but in fact, Leiji Matsumoto, when he heard Daft Punk was French, he wanted to do it because he was very inspired by a movie named Marianne de ma jeunesse. It was a Julien Deborgher movie from the 50s, I think. And it was like something he was really inspired by, so he was like, okay, I'm happy to meet them. So we went to his house. It was really, he had like the beanie with the skull, you know, like his character and stuff. And I think he enjoyed like the band and the thing, and he was like, okay, let's do it. So that's how everything started.
I got. I'm gonna maybe allow the room to raise hands, but otherwise I got plenty of questions. So, Henry?
Yeah, hi. Hey, what did you guys use to enhance the movie?
Sorry? What did you use to enhance the movie? What algorithm or AI technology did you use?
We used a studio in Paris named Level, and I don't really know all the process, but it was more like an algorithm. Apparently there is now some special algorithm for anime, you know, to keep like the strokes and stuff like that.
Well, what year did you start upscaling? killing the film? Do you know that?
C'est Tony.
Yeah, we started at the beginning of the year. So it took like, so we had a premiere at the Tribeca Festival in New York in June. So yeah, we started in January, so around 4 to 5 months. And yes, based on some secret formula with algorithm that I don't even know about. But it's not just you push on a button and then it goes like this. No, it's a movie like every frame has been checked because even the most difficult part was to find the right source to do it, because you know whether it was the source that was used in for the theatrical release in 2003. We wanted to go back to the original thing in Japan, but it's kind of lost, so we had different sources. And in the end, like the first result was really not that satisfactory. So Level, the company, and Cédric like watched the film again and again and again just to make sure that every frame was okay, and it was okay to show it on a big screen. Because that's the whole idea behind all this is to have this film back on a big screen and not just YouTube as a video or DVD and Blu-ray. This was designed to be shown in theaters, and that's the best way to enjoy it. Like everyone sitting in a room and sharing the music and the film.
Thanks.
Okay. I have a question. What is the writing like for a film with no dialogue, with an album, and that came before? How did you flesh out the storyline over these songs?
I think the first thing we were thinking, it was like why rock bands, they are like kind of having like an attitude, you know, and like wearing sunglasses and being like and we were like, oh, maybe we can find a way to explain why, and that's why we had like this idea to come with like in fact like all the music bands and singers and stuff, they are like coming from like another planet, and someone devil will like use them to have a darker planet. And yeah, also it was like this thing about like the myth of the impresario, you know, like and you have like in Pinocchio and stuff like that. So yeah, we tried to develop this idea, and what was interesting, it was like because we already had like some music and stuff, it was, and the music is quite visual, you know. It was quite easy to develop. The story is pretty basic, but you know, like we tried to do like something that was making sense with the music.
And obviously, Leiji's Matsumoto style is very peculiar and unique to him, you know. So it's the English name of Albator, which is the French translation, is Space Captain Harlock, and he's very known for his character, which have very definite features, especially his female characters, which I heard was one of the main reasons why they wanted to work with him. And but Cédric is also a world-renowned designer, furniture designer, and he is at the origin of the famous Daft Punk pyramid and the different iterations of their robot suits over the years. And so I wanted to know how you were, outside of the writing, how you were working with the artists about the whole aesthetic of the film, and then how it might have influenced your aesthetic on your parallel career.
The thing is like I've been working with them, so it's really like a teamwork, you know. I'm not like the only one. It's like really like all the ideas and the design and stuff. It was always coming like from the three of us, and also we work, for example, for the Hervet with Alex and Martin at this time, and for like some recent project we were working with War and Flu. We did the last video, you know, like Infinity Editing. And for the design thing, I think it's like in France, when I was young and I'm the same age as Thomas and Iman, we had only like 3 TV channels. So I think we had like the same references and stuff. So when we wanted to design something, we had the same taste, you know. So I think that's why we were like developing this thing, and we always had like a good chemistry, the three of us.
Here's one question.
Is the writing process for the film affected the album?
It was mostly the story was more like based on the music, but at some point it influences like the choice of the tracks and also the order. So it's mainly like first like the music, but for sure it influenced a little bit like maybe like some tracks they've been pushed out of the selection of the album, and the order too, and sometimes also the names of the tracks they've been influenced by the story.
Were the designs of the characters inspired by any artists, like in the 80s or 70s?
Yeah, but I think it's kind of like we wanted to be some kind of like cliché, so yeah, the arpeggist, the guitar player is really like rock, the keyboard player is more like kind of like disco, the Stella, the girl, she's more like country, so yeah, it's kind of like inspired not by characters but by more like music genre and stuff like that.
I have one good question that both of you might talk about, kind of involving the very unique nature of this film, as we talked about. There might only be 2 films of this type in cinema history. The first one being Yellow Submarine by the Beatles. And the reason why there aren't that many full album feature-length animated films is because it's immensely expensive and complicated to make. And so how do you convince people to produce an, like when it comes to the nuts and bolts of making something happen outside of the art, just like the economics and the politics of getting something made like this? I'm personally very interested in that. So can you talk about that?
So yeah, it was like first, it was like the band, they wanted to produce and pay for the whole movie, but it was much more expensive and longer to produce that we were expecting. So even like we started to release the video as the single, but we wanted to do it like in the chronological of the album, you know. So this is first, it was like at the beginning, like Virgin, they were like, okay, let's do it, but some of the tracks, they were not like really singles, so it was not like fitting the marketing plan of the music industry. And when finally we find out like it will be too expensive and like the band were kind of out of money to pay for the production, Virgin, they told them, okay, we can pay for it, but you will have to add an album in the contract. So that's how finally we financed the movie.
Yes, I was wondering if you did also have some hand in Daft Punk's Electrona film from like 2005, and if so, which one of these is your favorite?
Yeah, I co-wrote the Electrona movie and I edited the movie and kind of produced it as well. I don't know if I have like a favorite one, but to be able to travel to Japan and to meet Leiji Matsumoto, you know, it was like a kid's dream, I think. So I will go maybe for this one, but Electroma, it was a really good experience for me too, because I was on set and, you know, it was really interesting too. But I will maybe say like Interstella is maybe my favorite.
Question way over there.
How does the communication that when this film was made, seeing as the band was in France and the animation studio was way over in Japan and there was no internet back then?
Yeah, it was really complicated because at this time it was internet was like 56K, so no Zoom meeting, nothing like that. So we had to travel a lot. Most of the time we will get the storyboards by fax. I don't know if you. We will do the revision on the storyboard. We fax them again. And after, Thomas he was going a lot like back and forth to check the production, and we will get some VHS of the editing of like each episode, track. And after we will give like the notes and stuff. That's why it was like it was so long and also it was so expensive because of like this process. It was actually and at some point. What we were doing, we had to re-edit some of the stuff in France, so just to make it easier and cheaper. But for sure, it was even like culturally. For example, we went for the Japanese animation because we liked it, but because we were French, sometimes they were trying to change to please us. They thought they would please us to add like some kind of like French vibe, but in fact that's not really what we wanted. So even like culturally it was a little bit challenging, but we worked with Sugiyama, who did his study in California. So it was easy for him, it was easier using him because he knew like the difference between like the Eastern culture and the Western one. So it was very helpful to work with him.
Is there anything you can share that was left on the cutting floor because it was too ambitious or too crazy?
Not really. The only thing maybe I can share is like the first drawing we got from Leiji Matsumoto. The day before he drew the character, he watched the Olympics. I don't remember which one it was. So the first character he designed, it was like an ancient Greek wardrobe and stuff. And it was hard for us to tell him like, no, we can't really go this direction. But I think that's the main thing we had to put on the side from the film.
Okay.
Is there something in this film that you'd like to see more of in other movies?
I don't really know. No, I don't know, like... Blue people. No, I don't know. For me, the movie is the movie, and like, I don't know what to answer. Sorry.
I have a question for Julien, who's with us, who's in charge of the label of Daft Punk, and he just released Manu Chao's first album in 2 decades or something. And but to bring it back to Daft Punk, this film being something of not a concert, but an experience, a multimedia experience. I want you to talk as a person from the music industry about the shape of the music industry today, if it's something that you can try to explain in your own words, what it means to distribute music and how to distribute music nowadays when the visual aspect is such a strong element of it.
Well, that's a wide question, but I would just focus on what we are doing at Because Music, working with Daft Punk today. So the band doesn't exist anymore, but they're their universe and their legacy is so rich and so large that there is so many things to do, even without the band creating new stuff. And for example, this film is the perfect example, because just imagine that Cédric was talking about Electroma, that's a film that they did, like focusing on the film. This film is something that they did like on the side of doing the Discovery album, that's been voted, I don't know, number 20. Apple just did a top of the best album in history, and Discovery is number 23. So imagine that they were working for 2 years on doing a record, and then they said, oh, now that we've done this record, why not do an anime movie, just like Cédric explained, between France and Japan? That's crazy that they've been able to achieve this like as a side project in a way. And it was not done in the movie industry, but in the music industry. So in the music industry, when you release a record that's as successful as Discovery in 2001, when the film was finished and premiered in Cannes 2003, it was the end of the album company. So the Virgin at the time like stopped to work on the album because it was already 2 years old, and it was already a long period. So this film got a release, but it was not a wide release, and that's why it's so interesting. More than 20 years later, just to pick that from the archive, like remaster it, and bring it back on the big screen and see a full audience of people that might not even have been born for some of you when the movie was out, and show it as a new thing. And that's exactly what we work. It's called the work of our catalog, like picking a few pieces of work that's been done before and put them in the light of today. So that's how we start working. 2022, we did the 25th anniversary of Homework. Last year we focused on the 10th anniversary of Random Access Memories. This year we are working on and put this film back in theaters. So far it's been only shown in Paris, New York, Los Angeles, and here. And at the end of the year, there's going to be a wider release that we are going to announce in a few weeks. But that's the power of the universe of Daft Punk, that be able to pick something that was kind of a side project, and now 20 years later being the main thing on a big screen in 2024.
We need to wrap it up. Can I have one last question? Someone wants to raise his hand? Okay, the last question over there.
Yeah, hi. I kind of want to bring up a question about the content of the film, because I mean it's about also like exploitation of artists, and I think artists are really very easy group of people to exploit. Was Daft Punk experiencing any of this like in the industry at the time, like 2003? What was happening? Had they ever undergone anything like this?
No, I think that's what also it was different from other bands for Daft Punk. I think when they, and I'm not the expert, maybe Julien will know better how to explain this, but when they signed their first contract with Virgin, they did it on artist, as an artist, and it was not like a license. But I think they knew this kind of stuff, you know, like they really wanted to be like independent, you know, and to own all the stuff and to be sure they will have like total control on what they will do. So I think they knew, like, depending on how you will be treated and you sign like contract with like a, so that's why in the movie you have like this thing, because I think they knew about like you can, and also like 2001, it was also do you know, like boys bands and stuff, they were starting to be a little bit big.
So also quite 25, more than 25 years ago, we are able to work hand in hand with Daft Punk and a company that's called Daft Life that still owns everything, all the masters, all the music, all the artworks, the film, and that's how even now they are really free to do whatever they want with it because they own it, and not another company that could have been bought by someone else, and then someone else, and then someone else. When sometimes happens that when you sign a deal as an artist, then your work belongs to the record company, and then they can do whatever they want with it. And Daft Punk never did that. They always kept control and ownership of everything that they've done.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.